Why, did you see the error yesterday?
Well, it's all that smoke.
Yeah.
It's just blowing right from that avenue.
Kind of like over your way, because I was north of it, and I'm looking. I got a beautiful, the Sierra Nevada are crystal clear from my house. I'm looking south. I see that river of smoke.
Well, and it was all right over me. Last night I had a meeting in Fresno, and I was coming back at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, or something, and it's just this stream going from west to east.
It's gonna be a bad year this year for fires.
Early
too.
Yep.
The sky is just...
How are you, Amy?
I'm good. How was your vacation? Your vacation with the Johnsons, huh?
Yeah. You know them?
Well, I know Taylor is Karen Kalali's daughter.
Yes. So
Yeah.
she was there. And
Yeah.
She and my daughter, within 10 days of each other, were having a baby. The next one.
Oh, the next one?
Yeah, her first one.
Okay, very cool.
She did all the photography for my daughter.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the meeting of the Tulare County Board of Supervisors. We will now take up our agenda and begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. We will be led today by Supervisor Ennis. Oh, wait, he's not here yet. We'll be led today by Supervisor Crocker.
Salute, pledge.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. All right. We will now take up item number 1 on our agenda, which is Board of Supervisors matters. We will start today with Supervisor Shucklian.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to say that this Wednesday, Jason Wright, is our second homeless task force. So we're looking forward to that, hopefully having our full crowd there and all the members. We are going very strong with Summer Night Lights. We have 15 communities participating countywide. The incorporated cities, along with rural communities such as Ducor, Allensworth, Alpaw, Woodville, London, and Strathmore. There's 79 individual events taking place throughout the county. And of course, if you don't know this, the events are free and open to families and children of all ages, and they include food and entertainment, and this is all part of our Step Up program. So things are going very well with the Summer Night Lights. Last Wednesday, I had the opportunity to attend, well, the Mental Health Board is monthly, but it was at the Porterville Wellness Center, our new wellness center there in beautiful downtown Porterville. Is that downtown? I don't know.
Wellness Center?
Porterville have a downtown, or is it just kind of all? It's all okay. But anyway, the wellness center. It was. If you haven't had an opportunity to check it out, it's quite a place. They have some great activities for the consumers there, and with my background in recreation therapy, I almost wanted to stay and do a little work with some of the clients, so consumers. So it was very good. And then the big thing, this last weekend, boats returned to Mooney's Grove Park. It was a soft opening, I guess we could call it, not a lot of fanfare, but it was wildly successful.
Great.
Both Saturday and Sunday, they offered boat rentals, and I understand that the people were lined up, and we will be doing a little bit more, a bigger press release and letting folks know that we are going to start having boats back at Mooney's Grove, at least on the weekends in the summer months.
That's not ski boats, right?
No.
No, but
I might be able to ski behind one.
people still ram into each other with them? That's what we used to do.
They're not bumper boats,
fun.
Mike. That's where you go to Adventure Park.
Oh, pardon me. Okay.
All right, now we'll move on to Supervisor Worthley, and he was actually the most popular supervisor last week when he was gone. There were people that were coming to this meeting asking to have him here so that he could hear them. So now I hope that those sentiments get your way somehow.
Well, I will just say that my week at the coast could not have been more timely. The weather was perfect, and the weather was a little warmer back here, so it was nice to be there. Back here, we of course have got lots of stuff going on, and we have our ad hoc finance committee meeting on Thursday morning, and then the East Kings River GSA meeting will be at 2 o'clock Thursday afternoon, and Upper Kings River meeting will be in Fresno tomorrow at 9:30. So for a world that never used to revolve around water, it seems like that's what we do now.
Okay. Supervisor Crocker.
Thank you. Last week I had a meeting with the Strathmore Public Utilities District, and we just kind of had a brief meeting discussing opportunities. They have a lot of capacity issues, as well as just limited on their allocation of water, and so beginning the stages as far as partnering and looking at long-term some opportunities to look at partnering and finding some projects that can increase capacity, increase their water quality, improve that, and maybe partner with nearby communities to help with that resolution as we continue to tackle SGMA. Last Friday, I also attended the San Joaquin Valley Water Infrastructure Authority meeting as the chair was absent, and so I don't know if you've got the memo yet, but the vice chair, Buddy Mendez, appointed you to an ad hoc committee, so we can discuss after the meeting. But it was we're making great progress on that. This is the JPA that is working towards getting Prop 1 funds to build Temperance Flat. The deadline for that is August 14th. There was great presentations on the progress, and we have a full staff and different individuals from many agencies that are working on that application, and they anticipate that they'll be working on it up until the 12th, 13th of August to get that completed before the deadline, but they will be getting that completed. Also, will be attending a meeting with El Quinto de Sol tonight in Tullyville, and meeting with some of the local individuals there just to get their perspective on any issues that they may see or opportunities that the county can partner with that community. And lastly, this Saturday, the Tulare County Farm Bureau is hosting a Cahuilla watershed tour. Often they rotate and give tours of different water systems throughout our valley. I've been able to attend one in the past, and so I'm looking forward to having an official tour of the Cahuilla watershed.
All right, Supervisor Ennis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hey, must say, nice haircut.
Thank you.
Yeah, I thought everybody ought to know that you got a haircut. So.
Yeah. Hey, yours looks nice too, Mike.
Yeah, well, I need one, so thank you. Okay, this Thursday we'll be having our Eastern GSA meeting in Porterville at 2 o'clock. Special speaker Michael Young will be there talking to us about the Australian plan. And, Australia's had a drought issue for years, and what they've done in their area to try to combat the groundwater and the drought. So should be an interesting program. Got the Ag Luncheon that same day at noon, and that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. So I want to go over a little bit of what happened last week at the San Joaquin Valley Insurance Authority meeting. I know that organization and what's been going on in the insurance world has been rather tumultuous over the last few years, but Tulare County employees have done a fantastic job in really grabbing on to wellness strategies and trying to take control of their own health destiny. And I think this last year was a real reflection of that. And we're really trying to look at ways that we can all benefit from being in the SJVIA through such means as sharing the fixed costs that we all have to incur no matter what, but actually making each entity pay their own way based on their experience. And for the County of Fresno, they're actually going to be looking at getting rid of their HMO and implementing what's called an EPO. And for the County of Fresno, the increase, this is projected. There will be another month of data, and then there will be the final numbers will be adopted at our next meeting. But the County of Fresno for the EPO plan had a 2.9% projected increase. Their PPO and high deductible health plan had an increase of 11.8%, for a total increase for the County of Fresno of 4.2%. In Tulare County, we don't have an EPO quote yet. That was not finalized, but the PPO had a negative 0.2% increase. So the rates actually went down, and that is a huge, huge win for our employees just the swing between the County of Fresno and County of Tulare is very significant, and I appreciate my colleagues from Fresno County acknowledging the efforts that have been made by Tulare County employees to get well, and really looking at which entity is dragging the SJVIA down. And the entity that's dragging down the SJVIA and causing such significant rate increases year in, year out for, I believe, the last 4, maybe 5 years has been Fresno County. And the board is acknowledging of that and actually bucked the consultant's guidance to fully blend our renewal and actually let each entity stand alone. Because a fully blended renewal would have resulted in a 3% increase for Fresno County employees, but also for Tulare County employees. So regardless of our good claims year, we would still have been paying an increased rate. So I'm very appreciative of these preliminary figures and Fresno County's willingness to take ownership of their own health consequences, and we'll see where it goes come August. This week we also have the Strategic Financing Committee meeting that Supervisor Worthley mentioned. The key subjects we are going to be evaluating this week and looking very thoroughly into are retirement and looking at an alternative mechanism for maybe stabilizing our contribution rates into the future, where that'll be a very thorough and comprehensive investigation into that. And then also we will be discussing public safety funding and beginning with the Sheriff's Department. So look forward to that. That is all that I have for Board of Supervisors matters. At this time, we will take up public comments, which is item 2 on the agenda. Are there any requests for public comments today? Okay, we have one. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Both microphones work.
My name is Alberto Aguilar, and I live in Tulare. I'm here to address the Board Supervisors today on a matter regarding the cemeteries. The Board of Supervisors go ahead and appoints all the directors to the Board of Cemeteries that currently sit on the boards. They're not elected members, they're appointed by the board. And I believe that because they're appointed by the board should go ahead and take responsibility, some responsibility for the way that these board members function. I was at the Tulare Cemetery District Board meeting because the board president refused to meet with me regarding a private issue. And what they do basically when you go ahead and bring up an issue is they want you to come before a board meeting and air it out in front of everybody else, whatever your issue may be. There was one lady there that went before the board because they had bought a plot for their mother and she was buried in the wrong plot. That to me is something that should be discussed in private and not be aired out for everybody else in the public to be knowing what the issues are of an individual. I had a separate issue that I needed to go ahead and address regarding a contract that I had with them regarding a plot that was purchased back in 1994, which I was told I couldn't transfer to one of my children, even though it specifically states so on the contract that I go ahead and negotiated back then. Again, something that had to go ahead and be addressed out in the public. I believe that some of the board members haven't had the proper training that they should have. They don't even know who their legal counsel is. Their legal counsel is county counsel. I think that county counsel should go ahead and either go down there or send someone down there to go ahead and give them some training as to what their duties and responsibilities are. They're not following Robert's Rules of Order, whereas they constantly argue among each other, talking over one another, being disrespectful towards one another, towards the public. At the meeting that I was at, they had to go ahead and go into recess because of this. Okay, the meeting stopped because there was so much bickering going on back and forth. I don't know how or what criteria is used by the Board of Supervisors to determine who's going to be on these boards. If you have a criteria, I had inquired about the contract for the office manager. There is no contract. They're hired at will, I was told, with no provisions as to what their duties, responsibilities are. How can you hire someone and not give them specifically what they're required to do, what's expected of them? Our city manager in the city of Tulare is an at-will employee, but he has a contract that specifically outlines what his duties are, what his responsibilities are, what his benefits are, what his salary is. You know, it's amazing that people are hired at will without no guidance of what they're supposed to be doing whatsoever. I was also provided with misinformation by the board president, who I went ahead and showed her that she was misinforming the public. There's a group of individuals that have been going there on a regular basis complaining about the condition of the cemetery. This has been going on for months. And it continues. And they were thrilled to read the grand jury report that was written on the Woodlake Public Cemetery. Don't wait for the grand jury to go out and do your work for you. You appointed them. Go to one of the meetings. Pete, it's in your district. Go to a meeting. The meeting room is so small that it's standing room only, shoulder to shoulder. It's not appropriate. It's not big enough to accommodate everybody in the meeting.
Thank you for your comments, Alberto. Appreciate it. I don't mean to cut you off.
No problem. I understand.
Thank you.
Attend a meeting if you can. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anybody else here wishing to speak under public comment? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment period and bring it back to the board. Normally we don't respond to public comments, but I do want to just point out that one thing that this board has been very supportive of over the last 8 years, I believe, is the Government 101 training sessions that we have put on. The board has always been supportive in helping to provide some funding for after-hour services provided here in the training session that occurs. It's a 2 to 3 hour training session once a year for special district board members who are willing to sign up, and they can. All of them are informed about it. They can come get training from. There's elections issues covered. There's legal issues covered. There's some budgeting, some auditor, controller type issues. So that training evolves, and we actually came up with that training as a result of a conversation I'd had with the grand jury talking about some of the needs in special districts. And so we are very aware. I am. I don't like speaking for anybody else, but I think everybody has special districts of issue or that have issues within their district. I am very aware, and we want to make sure that we provide the training and opportunities for success for these different entities. So with that, we will now move on and take up our consent calendar. We are actually going to pull from the calendar item 24, and we will take that up separately. And I will look to council because we had several corrections and
Yes, we can. Yes, Mr. Chairman, we can first take up item 24, and I believe the. Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you. Good morning, Chairman, Board, Deputy CAO Almanza, and Council Peterson. I'm here today to request that the Board adopt a resolution proclaiming the week of July 16th to 22nd as Probation Services Week in Tulare County. The Tulare County Probation Department professionals play an essential role in the justice system. They orchestrate important public safety services and help offenders to successfully re-enter society and become productive citizens. Working hand in hand with local law enforcement agencies and community groups, the Probation Department provides rehabilitation programs as well as crucial services to referrals to offenders. Their efforts promote offender accountability by assisting offenders to live lawful lifestyles. They also protect the rights of victims through prevention and helping to secure restitution. Probation services is a vital component to our courts and communities and is an important branch of our law enforcement. Thank you.
Well, it's quite handy that you make such a request, and I happen to have a proclamation here for you proclaiming such a week for you. And you pretty much read everything that I have on here, but this is a proclamation from the Tulare County Board of Supervisors recognizing July 16th through 22nd, 2017 as Probation Services Week in Tulare County. Whereas the Tulare County Probation Department is an essential part of the criminal justice system. And whereas probation professionals uphold the law with dignity while recognizing the right of the public to be safeguarded from criminal activity. And whereas probation staff are trained professionals who provide services and referrals for offenders. And whereas probation staff work in partnership with law enforcement agencies, community organizations, and groups to provide public safety services to our communities and rehabilitative programs to offenders. And whereas probation staff provide services, support, and protection for victims and recover restitution for these victims. And whereas probation staff promote prevention, intervention, and advocacy and offender accountability. And whereas probation professionals advocate community and restorative justice. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Tulare County Board of Supervisors does hereby recognize the week of July 16th through 22nd as Probation Services Week in Tulare County and encourages all citizens to honor these law enforcement professionals and recognize their achievements. Signed by Kyler Crocker, Pete Vanderpool, Amy Shucklian, Steve Worthley, and Mike Ennis. Congratulations and thank you very much. I'm sure I'm very appreciative of all that the probation department does. And I know you are since you've been chief for a couple weeks now, right? But if you have folks in your department that you'd like to have come forward, we'd love to take a picture with you and some probation professionals today to recognize this week. So thank you.
Kyler, is your probation officer here today?
I hope not. You know, there's an ongoing joke from.
Is there? Isley?
That was an action item.
All right.
Always said.
Fellow board members, this is an action item. Please give me some direction.
I would move for approval.
All right, I have a
Second.
motion from Supervisor Ennis, a second by Supervisor Shucklian. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right, next we're going to move on to the rest of the consent calendar, and for that I will turn to council for some corrections.
Yes, there are 3 minor corrections to the consent calendar. Item 7, this is a policy retroactive to January 1st of 2017. We are also asking that the board find that the board had the authority to adopt this proposed policy as of that date and that it's in the county's best interest to do so. Item 22, this request number 2 is amended to actually authorize the Health and Human Services Agency Director or his designee to sign all of the grant application documents. And item 30, attachment A is the project location map, and it shall be updated to reflect the current supervisors in districts 1 and 3. And attachment D, attachment D is a letter referring to 2 projects in cycle 1, 2 projects in cycle 2, and this is actually amended to 3 projects in each of those cycles. And the letter also adds some minor details regarding a 3rd project relating to countywide safe routes. And that concludes the changes to the consent calendar, so the board may now take it up.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
All right, any public comments related to the consent calendar? All right, seeing none, I have a motion by Supervisor Shuckley and a second by Supervisor Worthley. Please vote. Motion passes unanimously. All right, now we are going to move on to our untimed portion of our meeting agenda, and we are going to take up a presentation given by the fire department regarding the Tulare County Fire Department's 10-year anniversary. And I must say, Chief, I had several women make comments to me today and say that you clean up very nicely. You look sharp in your nice suit, your fire. I know you don't fight fires in that suit, so your formal fire suit.
He fights different kind of fires in that suit.
Let's see, what else? They said you look like you got a haircut maybe for today's presentation. I got lots of compliments. You clean up well, Chief. Thank you.
Because this is untimed, does that, he doesn't have like till noon to do this, does he?
Hey, he's got a lot to talk about for a 10-year.
He's got to go fight a fire.
Just remember, there's budget hearings in a couple months.
No, I went to get a haircut the other day, and I said, what do you got in writing? And I took out my Facebook. So we went with this. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Mr. Spada, you look exceptional today.
Best I've ever looked.
Just 10 years. It is that better?
Yes.
No, I was talking about the screen, but I guess it's not working.
Yeah, we'll have that fixed
We'll be talking
for the
outside
next
of your
board
mouth.
meeting.
Yeah,
Have it fixed by slide 13.
we need monitors.
I just kind of want to give you an update today on where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. Establishing an all-risk fire department in this day and age took some daunting thought processes, providing a better service, having a connection with the community, and creating a destination department, having a department where we can have communication and reciprocity with our community, and having a buy-in. I do have all the brains of my outfit here, all my support staff, all administrative staff, and these are the people that get it done in my department. It's not me. I just put on a funny jacket. May 29th, 2007, it was day one, and the planning of this with all of you went very much long before that. And Chief Sunderland started the department, and that is the end product. On July 1, 2007, we began service. Again, a daunting task, a contract that had been in place for over 70 years, and having the blending of the county fire department and our active volunteers, as well as our paid professional staff, moving that forward was quite the challenge. But I think we've done that, and I'll cover this briefly in the presentation. Having some initial priorities. Why did we change? You don't want to change for the sake of change. You want to change to make things better. Increasing our service levels to the community. From day one, we increased our service levels to the community. We had reopened previously closed fire stations. We began looking globally at our apparatus replacement program, conducted a community needs assessment to see what the fire department or the citizenry expects out of their fire department. And our dispatch center, having a fire-only dispatch center, there are other agencies throughout the valley that have a combination police, fire, sheriff, fire. Having a fire-only dispatch center to concentrate on pre-hospital calls and 911 active emergency fire calls was very visionary on your behalves. We'll break it into 3-year segments, kind of like trimesters of the department in history. In 2007 and 2010, we reopened 4 previously closed stations. The Badger Station, Station 17, which is a resident station, Station 20 in East Porterville, Station 13 in Lemon Cove, and Station 3 in Dinuba. It says my youngest child was going to Sequoia Union. I remember him back in 2005. He said, hey, Dad, we don't have a fire station. Can I bring the kids in my class down to Visalia Fire Station? I said, you don't have a fire station. And Station 13 had been previously closed under that. So having that station in there between not only the call volume in Lemon Cove, but to the foothills, to Exeter, to Three Rivers is so important, and that was such a hinge pin in our operation. Again, the purchasing and delivering of new apparatus. Establishing our Honor Guard program, very important. We celebrate the victories with the graduations. We also celebrate our sad moments when we have the passing of a firefighter. Being able to have that program and not have a statewide entity that you have to book 3 months in advance, having our own local control, that was very, very helpful for our organization. And of course, we had established minimum training standards and make sure we were getting the highest quality applicant to take our department to the next level. 2011, 2014, again, we saw some transition. Chief Sunderland retired, and we had Chief Garcia. Chief Garcia, with a vast prevention background, was able to pilot our prevention program to different levels. We were able to do some refurbs on some of our patrols, and through some of the hard work of the staff in our training division, we were able to create a training center with minimal cost to the department at Station 15 in Lindsay. And working forward with that, we will hop on the regional training concept as we work forward to the Station 1 concept at 256 and Road 140. A chaplain program, beginning of our chaplain program. We have the physical, the mental, and then the spiritual needs. And I know in government we can get sideways with religion and faith-based organizations, but having a faith-based organization to turn to within your department with the fire-based training is so helpful for some of our recovery issues. New PPE, personal protective equipment for all our staff, and then our dispatch upgrades. Being able to go into the new CAD system and to work forward with the new technology. Upgraded our training standards as we go to the Firefighter 1 and EMT 1, making them minimum standards. And then our upgraded media delivery systems, being able to get things out on Twitter, get things out on Facebook. I've always prided myself, whether it's with my lovely bride or the board or any of my bosses, having communication, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. Let somebody know that outranks you what's going on. So that way, if anybody gets any questions or has any issues with something, it can be addressed at the lowest level. 2015 to present. Even that picture of me in the upper right-hand corner, there's less gray there than there is now. New administrative transition. And I think as we move forward, myself being in the leadership role and having the support staff that I have, Chief Smith, Chief McLaughlin, Chief Marquez now, having that leadership team, it's all part of a team. It's never about me. It's about the organization, moving the organization forward. Having the capital to invest in 2 new engines, 2 patrols, having the collegiality within the county to buy a water tender with CDBG funding, no cost to the county department, having a 3rd battalion added, working forward. As we work in the fire service, we look at spans of control. You can't have 20 firefighters and 1 battalion chief. The best rate of control is usually 3 to 7. So we have 1 supervisor, 3 to 7 employees, and being able to have that is there for a safety factor. The 2O staffing, having 2 people on an apparatus, 2 paid professionals on an apparatus, and that is a program we will continue based on funding. We will continue to grow. The community-based volunteers have done a great job for us for many, many years, but as we work forward, they will always be an integral part of the department, but there are sometimes 8 to 5 and they're not available. And we'll talk about a little bit of a downward trend in volunteerism in America, sad to say. The Department of Technology, our upgrades, our iPads and apps. We have an E911 system which takes all 911 calls that will transfer them directly to your phone. This has helped us to reduce response times to the citizenry. So we're cutting anywhere from a minute to 45 seconds off of our response times, being that initial. And it doesn't take the ability to read a map away, but it definitely helps our response times. The OAS Type 3 engine, again, relatively free with the exception of some maintenance issues from the state, and it helps us be actively engaged on any of these fires as well as assist us with reimbursement from other state and federal fires. The Swiftwater Rescue Team at Station 14. This was largely driven by Station 14 in the Three Rivers community, both financially, and we helped to drive this through our mission. We've had several successful rescues this year, and being part of that and in the future having some co-joined training with the Sheriff's Department will make us a stronger entity as a county, not territorial, but just a broader based team.
I hope that you're not taking a free driver of that Type 3 engine, because in that picture you've got a rather questionable looking driver there that's grabbing onto that handle, getting ready to climb up into the engine. So just some advice and guidance to you. Put a professional there, don't just put this guy. Just saying.
He drives well.
No, we get there quickly.
Yes, you do. I'll be in the passenger seat hanging over the bar.
Even need to use a siren.
That's always the fun part. Talk about average calls for service. Since our inception in 2007, we've averaged 11,869 calls for service annually, 7,204 EMS and rescue calls, 1,436 fires, and 315 hazardous conditions. And that will continue to rise based on service delivery. The thing that was exceptional when I was looking at some of these numbers is our fire rates. EMS, hazardous condition calls were below the national average. EMS calls were slightly below the national average. Fire calls were at 12% of our total call volume, whereas the national average is 4.7. So we're almost 3 times as high with the national average. So,
Carly, one question quickly. Is it further broken down in terms of structure versus landscape type fires? Because I'm just wondering, we have a big rural county, and I'm wondering how we compare on the structure fires with the national average.
it was broken down. I didn't put this on there for generality and speed of the presentation, but our grass fire component, our vegetation fire component is obviously high compared to rural areas, but our structure fire is still probably double what the national average is. So we can break that out at the next presentation.
Also, Charlie, are all our firefighters EMTs? Is that a prerequisite?
It
And
is
do we
now.
have any
As of 2 years
paramedics?
ago, everybody coming through the door as an entry-level professional will be firefighter 1 and EMT 1.
Okay, do we have,
Have the extra help component that does not have that, and thus we have to put them through an extensive amount of training to get them to that.
and do we have any paramedics or any paramedics or?
We have, I believe, 1, 2, 3, we have 4 paramedics within our department, and as far as future trends, that's we can talk about later in the presentation. 'Cause more is better, right?
Absolutely.
Any questions on any response data? Major incidents. Tried to capture some of these. There have been quite a few of those, and I'm sure that there are things that you can recall on this, but these were the one that were in recent memory. True Value Fire in early March. It was significant, $600,000 loss. That was in May of 2012. The Tough Stuff Fire in Terabella was about a $14 million fire in December of 2012. Phillips Farm Fire, cold storage in Ivanhoe, was in September 2014. Happened at about 2 o'clock in the morning. On that incident, and that was about a $3.5, $4 million fire. And the reason that comes to mind is we had what's called a BLEVE in that fire. It's a boiling liquid expanding vapor explosion. That is when a high-pressure propane tank hits vapor space and destroys itself. There was probably a 300, 400 cubic foot fireball that came out of that. And luckily, there was a packing house between suppression personnel. We had some signs and symptoms that we could hear this imminent BLEVE was going to occur. We were able to pull firefighters out and keep them safe. That one could have been disastrous for firefighter safety. And through the training and experience of our firefighters, we were able to come out of that unscathed. We had pieces of that, and I've only seen 3 of these in my career. That's why have such a big wow factor on this. But we had pieces of that cylinder 300, 350 yards away from the point of explosion. So those are extremely hazardous. First Street Packing House Fire in Exeter, June 30th of 2016. That was about a $2.5 million fire. The Cedar Fire in Posey, which came over from Kern County in the Cedar Creek area, went to almost 30,000 acres. Personnel did a great job keeping it out of the Panorama Heights, Posey area. Very successful operation. And a recent history, the Kings River flooding. Just when you think you've seen it all, warm weather flooding I've never been a part of. With some joint work from Cal OES, from our Office of Emergency Services, and a lot of boots on the ground from our personnel. We had some very successful outcomes out of that. Out of county responses, we go out of county quite a bit, and it helps us train on somebody else's fire, but it also helps us bring some reimbursement back into the county. Our biggest fire response year was in 2015 prior to last year, and we went out of county 16 times. Over the history of our department, we've averaged 12 to 13 times. In 2016, we went out 34 times. This year to date, we've gone out 9 times. So it's what people are calling the industry kind of the new normal. It used to be when I was a young man, you'd have fire season from May to September. Now it's from March to December. So, and with the fuel moisture, with the urban interface issues that we face in the communities, they're becoming longer and more severe. Partnerships. We do the emergency response well, but having partnerships within the county and having partnerships within the community are so important. Our internal agencies, the RMA, Resource Management, having that relationship with the building department, getting in there on our permit inspections, and having a good turnaround time for the citizenry. Working with Dennis Lehman and getting some of those things done in a rapid fashion. It's great for the customer. It makes everybody get their project done sooner and safer. HHSA, public health, having the quarterly roundtables and being able to catch whatever the next pre-hospital care issue may be, as well as environmental health and working through any type of hazardous materials and coordination issues throughout the state. Working with our Department of OES, having Andrew Lockman and his personnel on the ready whenever we need an EOC activation or whenever we have the training. And our partners in public safety, the Tulare County Sheriff, whether it's working on a rescue, evacuation, or just, they've been great partners in public safety. Our non-government community stakeholders, we have so many of them. I mean, the Posey Fire Auxiliary does so much for us in the mountain communities to supplement our operation that we normally couldn't do. And the local fire agencies. We have automatic aid and mutual aid agreements with just about every agency with the exception of the United States Forest Service. And we're working on that one. That one may be a little bit tougher than what we have, but we are working forward on that. So having those agencies and having that reciprocity and interrelationship to where when we're at drawdown, they can help us. Likewise, reciprocity is a great portion of any relationship. Facility improvements, as we look forward, the Cigna building. Keep looking at my watch and keep looking at John Hess. John Hess is doing a great job with that. Moving into that Cigna facility, moving us into, and the Farmersville community has served us well, but I think with the cubicles down the hallway, I know who has hypertension in the office. I know any health-related issues. I know what's going on at home with their kids. Yeah, it's great. That low expectation of privacy really helps out. It has served us well for a long time, but I'm really looking forward to the Cigna building. Station 28 remodel. If you get out and about in the county, we have so many facilities that are looking good. We do have some aging infrastructure that we're going to have to deal with in the next 5 to 10 years. But we will get there. What we have is in great shape. Our training facility, largely due to the training staff and some direction from admin, we were able to put some containers together and have a pretty nice training facility in the Lindsay area. And we can always upgrade and make improvements on that. But at this point, at a 10-year process, we're doing very well with our training facility. Our new Station 1 site, the 256 and Road 140, as soon as we get the infrastructure in there, getting a station to that area, and then coming up with the standards of coverage plan to show where that will mesh into the mix of things. And then the ongoing facilities upgrade. We work forward with our facility upgrades. We've added a couple of new roofs. We've done some concrete work. And not only has this helped out with the county, from a county standpoint, but we've had so much from the community groups as far as helping us supplement that program. Very important part of the community that we couldn't do it without. And again, one of those other reasons, in addition to emergency response, that we're out there, some of our community involvement, the smoke detector programs. We get out into Cutler Orosi, we get into Goshen, we get into Matheny Tract, and people will get into residents, help people out, get them to where they wouldn't be able to help themselves and provide good fire safety. Fire Safety Day at the Rawhide game. We participate in those twice a year. And being able to hit the community and show them what we do. We've performed, as the kids come into the entry level of the Rawhide Park, we do a mock physical agility test for the children to show what a day in the life in the firefighter is. So as it gives them good buy-in with the firefighters, it makes things seem less daunting. MDA Fill the Boot, our association as well as the department has raised over $78,000 in the last 3 years. That's been a great program. And Career Day is at all the local schools, very, very helpful, showing the kid from Wood Lake High School, from Tulare Union, that you go to school, get your education, you can come back here and you can fly through the ranks of a fire department and provide a good service to your community. And many, many more. And in the sake of time, I'll run. Some of the continued challenges and trends are calls for service. Our calls for service are increasing with each year, and that's just the nature of the beast, more population, more issues. National volunteerism, our extra help program, our volunteer program is very important, but there has been a downward trend of volunteerism in the last 4 years. A generational blue-collar gap. I love putting this in. The people that we're hiring in this day and age have more degrees than a heat wave. We have a very smart workforce. But this is a Phillips, and this is a Flat. And we're spending extra time at the basic academy training level to get some of these concepts. Or as my dad would say, Charlie, go out and mow the lawn. You got it. Start it up, get going. You may say start the lawnmower to an 18-year-old in this day and age, and they may start pushing the real lawnmower without cranking it up. I mean, you just don't know what the apperceptive base is. And call it what it is, but the lack of vocational education in some of our high schools has really hurt us in our industry. This is a very vocational entry-level position. And the firefighter training laws and regs are increased so much. It used to be you'd have community-based volunteers. You could come in and say, Bob at Station 3, need you to pull some hose, throw a ladder for the weekend, you're good to go. You've got a 40-year career. It takes 12 weeks to get to that based on some of the mandated requirements. Not impossible, just more challenging, a lot more staff time commitment. The future, where are we going from here? In the next few months, we'll bring a strategic plan to show what we want to look like in the next 5 years and beyond. With some of the station relocations, looking at standards of coverage. We have some good locations. We also have some areas where the population of the cities has grown up, and we need to show you what that looks like. Enhancing our public education, our outreach. There are some other models out there. I know we've gotten really, really good with some of our juvenile fire center and being able to send people where they need to go rather than sending them right into the system. But there are so many fun things, like a fire camp is one thing that's done in our industry. And getting some of those out to some of the underserved communities and being able to not only help the kids out, but market the fire department. Our updated apparatus replacement schedule. Apparatus, we take very good care of our apparatus. And they're on a 20-year replacement in most industries because after about that 15-year mark, they start 50,000 and 100,000 you to death. But they're expensive. I mean, our apparatus now are $460,000 and that's not for a Cadillac, that is for a Chevy. So, and they do well, but they are expensive, and we do take very good care of them. Create internal opportunities for success, the TCFD culture, making our department a destination point, making it the best it can be, and showing our internal staff through training opportunities that we can have a successful career here. You don't need to look at going to Los Angeles City or Los Angeles County. You can have a marquee career here with the Tulare County Fire Department. And continued evaluation of our service delivery model. As you look at municipal agencies that are running very high call volumes, paramedic programs, great. Early intervention into the system. But if you're 10 minutes from Quia Delta, is that really necessary? It is if you're that patient, absolutely. The same thing in some of our rural areas where you don't have this, you may need that. Although you may not be running 30 calls a day, you may only run 2 calls a day, but those 2 calls with significant ETAs to the hospital could be a difference between life and death. So again, we're going to have to evaluate what our pre-hospital care model looks like. So very important in the future as we go down the road. Our mission. Providing leadership, coordination, customer-based service, high-quality fire prevention, responsive suppression, timely emergency services. Our vision, we're committed to excellence through professionalism, trustworthiness, achieved through our daily operations. We'll continue to expand our public service delivery model through innovative and fiscally responsible practices. We'll strive to offer our workforce the best opportunities available for training and education to further enhance the public service that we provide to our citizens. And we do it through our core values: integrity, respect, loyalty, teamwork, and compassion. In closing, I'd like to acknowledge all of you, the Board of Supervisors and the CAO's office. Without your support, we couldn't do this. The communities and the residents of Tulare County do so much to help our organization, and they're an active part. And believe me, when they think something's wrong, they do have my personal cell phone number. I don't know how they got it, but they do have it. And the RMA, Resource Management Agency, Tulare County Office of Emergency Services, Sheriff's Office. With the multi-jurisdictional issues we've had with the Cedar Fire, with some of the flooding, these agencies have been rock stars. They've been there to support us through everything, and we have a very bright future. So with that, I would answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions or comments from my colleagues?
Well, I just thank you, Charlie, for a great presentation, or I should say, Chief. But, but you know, I don't have, especially since this fire we had up in the Posey area, I haven't heard much from those folks. I think they're pretty happy up there, and with the dead tree situation, the way we're working on that. So I'm not hearing near the complaints I used to from fire people. So you guys are doing a great job. So I just wanted you to know that. Thank you.
Supervisor Crocker?
I just, Chief, thanks for the first 6 months have been a great working with your department, and I appreciate the time you've taken to keep me apprised of what's going on with the department and the challenges and opportunities that are going to be coming up in the future. This is a great presentation. I'm glad that past board, took what I think is a courageous step in creating a new department. I'm sure it was quite the undertaking. I'm looking forward to very much the strategic plan and the update as far as where you see the department going to the future. And I love the fact that we've got 2.0 staffing and Terabella. And so I hope that in the strategic plan, you also talk about what it would take to get to 2.0 staffing at all stations. Thank you.
All right, Supervisor Worthley.
Well, I guess I'm the only one here that was around on the board when we created the fire department, and I was kind of chuckling, as you said, kind of glossed over, the history, can't spend a lot of time on that, but it was an amazing time because we spent a lot of time as a board trying to find additional funding from the state of California. For those who don't realize how that worked, we were charged 100% of costs for then CDF, now CAL FIRE, plus I think it was like a 12 or 14% administrative fee on top of that. And as a consequence, it was just the cost because of the contracts that have been created under the Gray-Davis administration for CAL FIRE firefighters, the costs were just becoming unbearable for Tulare County. And so I can remember this place was packed out because when you say 70 years of contracts with CAL FIRE, that's a lot of history. And it's a big challenge and a risk, really, to create a fire department when you've relied upon that vehicle for so many years. But fortunately for the county, we had some things going for us. One was we owned our own equipment, be that as it may. It was getting older and older. That was part of the problem. We couldn't afford to maintain it and upgrade it. We had our own facilities. And again, same thing. They were in bad shape, but we owned them. Because I know that other counties have wanted to do what we did, but in some cases, they didn't own any of those things. It was all owned by CAL FIRE or CDF, and so then the costs were astronomical. It was a major expense. There was the time of training and the overlap, because as you see, it was very quick, 30 days. But for 30 days, we paid the state of California and we paid for a fire staff. And so we were threatened with recalls. It was quite an interesting time. And I will say, as I will look back, I think, over my career on the Board of Supervisors, one of the great highlights was the creation of our own fire department. And Chief, you and your predecessors and your staff and the men and women who work in your department are be commended for what you've done, because you made it happen, all of you. I mean, we set the parameters, but without people stepping up and doing the job that you all have done, we would not be here welcoming and celebrating your success over the last 10 years. And I will say one last thing. One of the things we did not think about for us, it was primarily financial. It was just a financial situation. We just could not afford to keep going down that same road. But one of the things we did not consider, when you have your own people, when I say they are Tulare County employees, they're vested in the county of Tulare. They're part of the community of Tulare County. And as a consequence, their engagement within the county, their community engagement and so forth, was just off the charts compared to what we had previously. And that's just one of those additional benefits that we never thought about, but just incidentally it happened. And again, thankfully, because of the people who work in that department. So I just want to commend you and your staff for doing a tremendous job, It's exciting to see a future here in Tulare County for the people who work here and our abilities to continue to improve and improve the services, but also improve the training and the equipment and the facilities that we need for you all to do your job. So thanks a lot, Charlie. Good job.
Supervisor Shuckley?
Not much more could be said. It's just nice to be working with you again, Charlie. You know, I've always been supportive in the past and will continue to be so. Thank you.
Thanks, Chief. I thought your presentation was a great one, and congratulations to you and your department on 10 years. A few things stood out to me. I do want to compliment you and your team for being very much a presence and very impactful in the unincorporated communities that you serve. If you're out in Alpa, the real only county presence that exists in Alpa is the fire station. The firefighters are involved in the community. They're a part of the community. They're involved in everything that goes on there. And I think that's just a wonderful testament to the type of people you have on your team. In Early Mart, the fire department is always there. You are there at town council meetings. It means a lot to show county presence at the various community activities, and so I'm very grateful for that. Looking forward to the future, I know we're talking about your strategic plan, and we're also talking about the strategic financing of your department. Looking forward, one of the public safety departments that we have to consider as a board, how we are going to strategically fund into the future is definitely the fire department. With the staffing costs, with the equipment costs, technology, et cetera, there's a lot that we have to look at. And we talk about adding paramedics. We talk about a 2.0 model. That has a dollar sign attached to it. So we have to be very strategic in thinking and planning so that we can continue to provide services across the spectrum of county departments, not only in the fire service to provide what the community deserves, but we want to provide excellent service as well. So balancing those things are going to be a challenge, but it's very important that we do that. And I'm glad that you are thinking about the same thing. I know you're looking forward to getting into the Cigna building. We're looking forward to getting you into the Cigna building. It seems like we've been talking about that for a while, but I can't wait till it's been a reality, and I think your signs look great over there on the building, if that's any consolation. But thank you for all that you've done, and thank you to the men and women in your department for the great work they do.
Thank you, Rogers.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. If there are no further items from council or anybody else, that concludes our open session of our meeting today. Council, do we have need for closed session?
We do, Mr. Chairman. On the regular agenda, there are items A through D, and there is an addendum with 2 items, E and F. I do not expect any announcements out.
Okay, great. Thank you all for attending today's meeting of the Board of Supervisors. Have a great rest of the week. We are adjourned.